Hello there, welcome to the Amijo Show. I'm Jo Trott, the host of the show, and this is a special 21-day series, although it's probably going to be a lot more than that. So I always wanted to create the Amijo Show. It was already going to be launched in the month of March, April, but obviously when the coronavirus hit and everyone's lives have been turned upside down, I thought, A, do I carry on with it? And then B, if I do, how do I do it? And actually I've just stuck to my game plan, which I think is always the best policy. And I am doing these shows every afternoon at 2 o'clock. I have two on today. 2 o'clock is with Tara Halliday, who I'll introduce in a minute. And then at 3 o'clock, I have Martin Roberts from the Homes Under the Hammer TV show, which is really exciting. So two amazing guests today. But these will be uploaded on YouTube. So if you're tuning in on YouTube and you've kind of really enjoyed with this, please comment below and also subscribe, because I'll be uploading these every single day. Well, but who knows how long? As long as I'm in lockdown, however that long that is. So every single guest on my show has something very, very special to bring to the table. They are an expert in their field. They know their industry inside and out. In fact, some of them have done other industries and then diversified and actually applied all of those skills and what they've learned to what they do now, which is kind of my favorite in a way, because that's kind of what I've done. So I really relate to that, but they have something different to offer you, and especially right now. So super thrilled to introduce you to Tara Halliday today, who is just an incredibly empathic but intuitive coach who has one hell of a story of how she's ended up being a coach in the imposter syndrome. So something that has had a lot of press, not many experts in the field, and most people know that they're kind of pretty sure they've suffered from it at some point, but do we really know what it is about? So Tara is going to explain about that a little bit, but also about what's happening with people right now, so their psychological state. So welcome, Tara.
Thank you, Jo. Such a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, pleasure. We're all silky today, aren't we?
Yes.
You know me, image is my thing, and it's like we've got to up our game for these videos, haven't we? There's no point rocking up in a sort of sweaty t-shirt. That wouldn't be very good. Oh, well, thank you for joining me. And you really have had a fascinating career to end up doing what you're doing now. Yeah, tell us more.
Well, I started off when I was 13 wanting to be a psychologist. That's the start of everything. But I wasn't allowed to be because the family didn't think that was a good career for me. So I went into mechanical engineering instead. And I, as you do.
As you do.
Yeah. And I went through my degree and then stayed on to do my PhD due to imposter syndrome, which we can talk about in a little bit. And then spent 10 years as an engineering consultant in a large corporation, a startup, and lots of different experiences. And then I did a dramatic shift back to what I was passionate about, which was helping people out through their difficulties. So then I worked as a holistic therapist, as a coach, as a trainer, and 4 years ago started really focusing in on imposter syndrome.
Fantastic. And it's such a niche, isn't it? We had a chat the other day before you came on the show, and it is such a niche of like a mindset that, you know, it's a real challenge for men and women. Sometimes it gets attached just to women, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So yes, that's exactly the case. Imposter syndrome is that feeling of self-doubt that strikes very highly successful, highly achieving people, and it feels like a sudden lack of confidence. They suddenly feel unconfident where they've been confident and capable for all their time previously, and that's why it's such a shock for them. And it's a feeling of being a fraud, which is why it's called imposter syndrome. They feel like, I shouldn't be here, I don't belong here, I'm not good enough, which is what really underlies it all. And it affects over 70% of highly successful people at some point in their careers. And it leads to confusion, isolation, anxiety, overwhelm, and it can lead to burnout. So it's a very significant issue. But yes, it's even though the original research was done in 1978, it's really only been talked about in the last, I'd say, 5 years on a serious basis. And you have people like Michelle Obama speaking out saying, oh, I had imposter syndrome, and a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And it's great that it's actually coming to light, because it's always been here, hasn't it? Obviously, always, but sometimes we have to give things a label, don't we? And just a really simple label. I've seen lots of debate about, should it be called syndrome or not? Does it really matter? Not really. You know, it's like as long as we define that there's an issue that arises. A lot of my clients come to me because they've got to get more visible on camera, and what kind of I'm doing now, really. And that is when it kicks in for them, because they put the selfie video on. And it's incredibly fascinating that they like flip on a different voice, or they shut down, like, you know, physically they haven't got any motion in their body, and I guess that's all imposter syndrome, is it?
It's that doubt. It's I shouldn't be here. It's that, you know, somebody introduces you as an expert, and the little part that goes, oh, I wouldn't call myself an expert. You know, it's the bit that says, I'm not quite as good enough as you think I am. And that's why people keep it a secret as well. That's why it hasn't been talked about, because people think it's just me. If everyone keeps it the secret, nobody's talking about it. So when someone does feel that way, they think it's just them.
Yeah. And that it's just not the case. It really is.
It really isn't. And 70% of people are aware of it. But the other 30%, well, there are some people in denial, and there are some people who are oblivious to it. So, you know, it's actually even higher than the 70%.
Yeah. And I should imagine right now, there's a lot of people there are probably lots of managers having to really kind of step into their game a little bit and really do something different. Lots of these kind of calls. And, you know, especially because a lot of people do have a phobia of the camera, and they're kind of worried about it.
Yes.
And, you know, I mean, my top tip for anyone worrying about the camera and what they're doing, and, you know, how they come across, is actually to imagine their best friend is watching. That everyone's got a friend that makes them giggle or laugh, or you know, they share stories with, that you feel really comfortable with. And when I first started doing TV work, I thought, right, I was told this a long time ago, and I think it's the best tip, that just imagine a best friend is watching, and just talk to them. Forget who's out there. Forget if there's 20 people or, you know, 200. Just imagine you're chatting to your best friend, and just relax and just talk to them.
That is such a wonderful tip. I'm going to share that. Thank you.
Feel free.
Yeah, really, really good. Well, one of the behaviors of imposter syndrome, the characteristics, that's quite typical, is perfectionism. And there's the idea that if I don't do this perfectly, then I'm not good enough. Or if I don't look perfectly, then I'm not good enough. Or if I make a mistake, then I'm not good enough. And so I can very much see how people, when they get in front of the camera, it might start to trigger that idea of perfection in how they, and it's interesting because it's not just how they look, it's how they talk, what they say, their body language. I mean, all of it is together. You're presenting your whole self. So there's if you like, the opportunity for them to be judged as not good enough, and that'll be what triggers people there.
Yeah, no, definitely. And there's the thing is, we can see it all. You know, if I wasn't believable, if you weren't believable, we could tell. You can just instantly tell. And I interviewed someone yesterday who's a voice coach. In fact, I should connect you two, because you two must have, you know, similar kind of clients that you know, and what you together would be a phenomenal collaboration. Absolutely phenomenal. But you know, we're talking about leaders, and also about politicians, and we're talking about female politicians who get it wrong, i.e. Jo Swinson. So it was mostly aimed at kind of unpacking and picking out the flaws, or not the flaws, the mistakes, the incongruences with Jo Swinson's personal brand and her message. And it's very much, just like you just can tell. And therefore, if you are delivering a message as a leader, especially, or you've got a big message to many, you really need to really feel comfortable and talk from within and down here, not just here and up here and whatever. It has to come from the deepest part of you. Otherwise people don't believe it. You're wasting your time. Also, switch the camera off.
Yes, and it's that authenticity as well. It's that you are speaking from your own sense of self, and if you're not fully rooted or confidently rooted in your own self, then it's not going to be as powerful. And as you said, for leaders at the moment, it's really, really difficult, because kind of like nobody knows what's going on. We're all just figuring this out, and yet everybody's looking to the people who are leading, which is in business and in politics, people who are leading, to have all the answers, and to be able to say, well, we don't have all the answers yet. Here's our best thinking so far. Here's what we propose, and if it doesn't quite work, well, we'll tweak it until it works a little better. And really, that's the best that we can do right now in this time where there's nobody who's really got a handle on it. Even if we look to China, who's had this a week or a few months before us, they're still learning, they're still figuring things out. There are things they might do differently. So it's that kind of situation where we don't know what to say, we don't know how to do things well. There's no books we can consult. That's when imposter syndrome can then kick in, because you start to doubt yourself. Well, is this okay? Is this right? And there's no one who can say, yes, this is right. And so we've got no reference for it. So yeah, it's a very tough time to be a leader in any capacity right now, just because there's so much turbulence.
No, it's a very shrewd point you've made there, Tara, because there must be a lot of that. And the bravado and the, we can tell we're just not buying into it. And I'm not going to name names, because let's not go down that rabbit hole, because we know who we're talking about. But there is so much of that. But for me, I'm involved with 50/50 Parliament, who are focused on achieving that very thing in the UK. So at the moment, fascinating, and rightly so, that so many female leaders are coming to light as authentic, as empathetic, as kind of just really honestly admitting that they don't know, and that has to come from a somewhere deep, because obviously they're paid to know to some extent. But like you say, how could we ever plan for this?
Yes.
So and I think it's, from my point of view, looking on the personal brand side of things, I'm sure it is for you too, fascinating, if you can try and create a level of calmness in your own unity and environment. Kind of fascinating watching these different leaders and how they're trying to gameplay and failing, trying to put on a certain front, and guffawing their way through interviews, failing. It's like, we are, I mean, I believe, but I'd like to ask you this question, because this is just my intuition, is that when we are in this kind of state, we're all in a heightened state of humanness, is what I call it at the moment, because we have just suddenly come into our own homes, stopped moving around, and we are very focused on what's happening for us. And I think we've got much better at seeing what is very much in front of us too. And this is just my energy, because I'm an energy person, deal with energy. So that is quite a fascinating existence really right now. And it feels like we're just seeing more. It's like the honesty button has just gone up to max. And see honesty and, like you say, authenticity. Do you think that's right, or am I just imagining it?
I think I think that's a great point, actually, because we're being constrained. We can't run away from our problems, right? We can't go out and have a night on the town and, you know, go off to Rome for the weekend, or you know, whatever people.
Please, can we? Can't we? In my head.
Yes, yeah. So we can't do anything. You know, we can't go out for you know a long walk. We can't go out for a bike ride. So a lot of the things that we often use to distract ourselves from our internal sense of ourselves has been taken away from us. And you know, voluntarily, we're doing it as a community service, as a community responsibility. So it's not like we're a victim here. It's willing to some degree, but it has constrained us, and it means that a lot of the distractions aren't going to work. They're not going to, you know, if we narrow them down to, you know, wine and Netflix or something, there'll be a point where that just doesn't satisfy us. That doesn't, it stops working anymore. And so we're going to have to do this kind of introspection. And I think the other part of it, you hinted at this, was because everything's been so much thrown up in the air, everything about our routine, our daily life has been disturbed. And so it's up for evaluation. It's like, a dusty carpet, and we've just shook the carpet, and now there's all this dust, and now we can start to sift through it and really see it for what it is, and then there's the opportunities to start making changes, which is the positive part of what's really coming out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And reassessing our values and thinking outside the box thinking, you know, let's smash all these boxes up and actually think just outside the box. Let's just think, right, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And what will I find the joy of? What am I here for? What's my purpose?
Yes.
Very much we're both are definitely coming from the same point on that one. So, and for people that are, you know, because there's lots of things I'm thinking that there are probably relationships that are really struggling, and there will be people that are like the main breadwinners at home who were thinking, well, you know, am I honest? And Andrew Priestley, in his interview, one of his top tips was like, be honest about your figures, be honest with the bank statements, you know, get it all on the table and say, look, this is the situation. There's help to gain, but you have to come from that honest place first. But what would your advice be, Tara, right now for people that?
Absolutely, exactly the same. Exactly the same. Be as honest as you possibly can. One of the things we can do, there's lying to others and there's lying to ourselves. And the more you can dig into that, the better. I would say right at the moment, we're still in a state of shock. I think we're just starting to come out of a state of shock that so much has changed so rapidly. So some people are definitely not going to be ready for that kind of deep introspection right now. And if that's the case, fine, but we're probably going to be here for a little bit longer. And so the time will probably come right when you think, you know what, let's take a look at my finances right now. Or, you know, let's have a conversation about our relationship, or let's have a think about it at least. But everybody's in that there's a grief curve. You've probably heard that it goes through denial and anger before it gets to acceptance, and people are in different stages of that. So some people will be ready for it, go yes, rolling up their sleeves, let's have a good clear out of everything, and others will be still trying to manage the fear that's come up from this, because there's a lot of fear that this has generated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like the magnifying glass has been put on us, isn't it? And it's all there to be seen. You know, how our families work or don't, and our school systems or don't, business systems. I mean, in some ways, I feel a bit blessed. I'm an entrepreneur doing my own thing, and I'm actually just having a whale of a time because I've got more time to be creative and do things like this, which I've been putting off for. I came up with this idea 18 months ago, and that's not like me. Normally, I'm like, right, idea done, let's make it happen, and I've been sat on it. But yeah, I think there must be so many people that obviously have so much more bigger picture thinking to consider, and other teams, and and just sort of your basic tip, Tara, or your top tip rather, as well as maybe basic for imposter syndrome. And if there are some managers that are really struggling with that, what would you say if they feel like that they feel like they're faking it right now?
Yeah, well, I think the place to start is with the stress, the anxiety, and the fear. You can tell that that's where people's thinking is right now, because now it's become really popular and appropriate to say, stay safe. I have so many emails that are now ending with stay safe. And if you think about it, if somebody had said that to you 6 months ago, you might have been a little bit puzzled. It's kind of like, well, okay, it wouldn't really have resonated. But now it's spot on, because our physical survival is being threatened, as community wide. And we're all very concerned about our own safety, of those we love, and our wider community. And that indicates that as a society, we're all in fear right now. And of course, it's not just the change, which can be scary, but it's also a genuine threat. So it's an appropriate response to feel fear in terms of a genuine threat. Well, what happens to the body when we feel threatened, like a snake or a tiger? The body goes into fight, flight, or freeze state. So it actually changes the way that it operates. It changes the heart rate. It changes the temperature. It diverts energy to different parts of the brain, and it puts us ready to fight and defend ourselves, or attack, or run away. Or the other one it puts itself into is a complete shutdown, which is the freeze state. So we, it's like. When something goes limp, or a deer in the headlights, that kind of state. And those three are really the body in emergency crisis mode. And so the very first thing anyone needs to do is bring themselves out of that state. It's a physiological state. And they need to kind of ramp it down. And when they can kind of calm down the body's reaction to that threat, then what happens is you get more energy going to the prefrontal cortex, which is the front of the brain here, which is where we do all our thinking and our planning and our strategic work. So if we want to make decisions well, if we want to manage this very difficult situation, we have to be able to think clearly. So the very, very first thing, and this is part of imposter syndrome as well. This is the very first thing, is to calm the nervous system.
They've just come back. Sorry. Yeah, no, go on. Sorry.
So there are different ways that you can do that. So if you've gone into the fight, flight, or freeze state, so your heart started racing, you might feel heat, you might feel anger, you might feel quite strong fear. Then what you do first is to shake your body, like shake your hands, shake your back. Yeah. And that's it. Like really get that, the whole thing, and stand up and do feet, everything. Shake your feet. So stand up with it and do that for about 2 minutes. Right? Okay. And what that'll do is that'll help move the stress hormone, the cortisol, and the adrenaline out of your system into the liver to get flushed out of the body. And this is a natural world thing. If you see it on a TV survival program where the deer has just escaped the tiger and then you'll see it just twitching, and that's what we're doing. So that's one really good way. And then once you've kind of let that level of energy out, then it's the slow, deep breathing, and that's lots of experts are talking about, and that also calms the nervous system. So they're the very, very two first things there. And if you try to shortcut the body, like there's a lot of mindfulness and meditation apps, and meditation has become more popular. If you try to do meditation or try to relax when you're in this heightened fight or flight state, it's not going to work. So you have to calm the whole system down first, and then you might find you meditate better and sleep better.
Yeah, no, that's really fantastic. And actually just thinking, I had a guest called Ashish Paul. She's a doctor in Ayurveda. and as well as a medical doctor. And she gave some great like breathing, like with the nostril thing and all sorts of things. So that there's another, I think she was episode 5, I think.
Yes.
Dr. Ashish Paul. But yeah, I totally understood, you know, that just already, that was just felt really nice to do that. I've never thought of doing that or ever had that. Tara, it's always so lovely to, I can listen to you for hours, and you've got this lovely, like, soft, lilting voice. That,
Thank you.
yeah, I think you should just do your own meditation. I'd buy it because you know.
All right, I will. There are definitely a few I could do. Yes, thank you.
So the downside of coming on my show is that my entrepreneurial brain and my creative personal brand brain goes into overdrive, and I'm thinking, like, what could Tara do right now for everyone? And I do it with everyone. So I'm sorry, that's my gift to you, or it might not be a gift. It might be something that buzzes around your head and drives you mad. But you have such a beautiful, calming voice, and you've got such a lovely, slow measure to it, and I just want to listen to that, like, just to chill me out when I'm feeling a bit like busy, which is quite a lot of the time at the moment. So let me know how that goes if you end up doing that, because I'd
yeah. Well, I've recently been asked to record the audio book of my book. I have a book called Unmasking. It's the Coach's Guide to Imposter Syndrome, and I've had a few requests in this last just 10 days now if I will record the audiobook, and I had it on my plans for October, but I don't know. So currently what's going on in my mind is maybe I think I need to speed that up or get that in place now. Maybe that'll be more helpful. Yeah, why not?
We're not going anywhere, are we? So I'm about to do the same, I think, for the book that we've just launched. Can I give a blatant plug?
Oh, go for it.
Remote working.
Brilliant.
#1 bestseller in Canada, #5 bestseller in the US, and #2 bestseller here at the moment. It's all the best tips for working from home. Do we have a therapist in there? I think we do. But if not, we should have got you in, Tara. But yeah. So, but you know, it's challenging working from home, and it's important we manage our stress levels. And I'm gonna, when I post this up, I'm gonna tag my friend in, because she's always on the border of stress, and she's finding it great working at home at the moment, but I know already, I can hear in her messages that she's worrying about this being a long-term thing, because she likes to go out to go to work, and I think a lot of people probably are like that. So I'm going to tag her in, because I think she should give you a call, because I know she definitely suffers from imposter syndrome sometimes. Yeah, and I'm her best friend, and I know how amazing she is, and I just find it so, in a way, sad as well as frustrating.
Yes.
That she just can't see what I see. So I'm going to tag her in and say, right, speak to Tara.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
Tara, I'll fix you up. Oh, thank you so much, Tara. So thank you, viewers, for tuning in, and please comment below. We'd love to hear from you. I will put Tara's details up so you can join her conversation straight away. And I will look forward to seeing, hopefully, maybe Tara again another time. You know, we're going to be here a while.
That'd be fabulous. Yes, we can make it a regular thing. Yes.
Oh, that would be lovely. I just could hear you, listen to your voice, really. I can see you. Yeah, it's just very relaxing. We could do a little meditation, maybe. That'd be kind of nice.
We'll do a meditation. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, thanks for tuning in. That's the Amijo Show. I'm Jo Baldwin-Trott, and I look forward to seeing you next time.